Let's start with a slightly controversial one. CAT थोड़ा सा luck based exam हो सकता है क्या?
Yeah, definitely.
Is CAT actually crackable for an average student, or is it favors only the topper?
If your profile has a weakness, it can be overcome or compensated by the percentile. If your percentile is weaker, having a good profile will compensate for it. If you are consistent, it doesn't really matter whether you are top 0.00% in IQ. That would help, but that is not needed at all.
The famous I am tag, like people say it completely changes your life.
Certain things would just not possible. Like certain opportunities would not be available to you. Now, what you do with that depends entirely on you.
The classic question everybody is asking us: how did you meet Maruti sir?
No, basically we were friends. Actually, we were friends for a long period of time. There was one year where DILR was so bad. Like while giving the exam only, I felt ki, oh my god, I have to tell people my score, okay? And I came out and I started called Maruti immediately after my CAT. This, for even I could say anything, he said ki, DILR was terrible.
Okay, CAT preparation in one word. Let's start with a slightly controversial one.
Okay.
A lot of students feel it, but nobody says it openly, right? So, क्या CAT थोड़ा सा luck based exam हो सकता है क्या?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say luck definitely plays a role, but it is only one of the factors. I think in this CAT 2025, if you were in slot 2, you were slightly more luckier than the other two slots. Slot 3 was slightly unluckier. Slot 1 was like neither very lucky nor very unlucky. So luck does play a factor, but even after you factor in for luck, still the other things also play a big role. Your preparation, your ability to adapt to change circumstances, all of those also play a big role. This is one of the things, but you can assume that it changes like say 0.2 percentile, 0.2 percentile upper niche, but that's it. But if you are going to get 99.7, you might get 99.9 or you might get 99.5, but it won't make a huge difference, but it does make a bit of a difference.
So, like another thing students keep wondering is like, is CAT actually crackable for an average student, or is it favors only the toppers?
I would say it is definitely crackable for average students. So I would say for a lot of people who like prepare for CAT, they start feeling ki the guys who go to like say top B schools are very different from them. So like the guys who go to like say IMA are very different from who they are. But I've been there, many of them are lazy at times, many of them are very average. Okay, ऐसा नहीं है कि सब वहाँ पे genius है, not at all like that. And many students are like very lazy also at times. So if you are like sometimes demotivated, lazy, many of the people who actually crack CAT are also like that. So it is not as if that it is like you have to be like some genius to get into all of these. Many average students are able to do it. The only thing that is important is that you should basically be very driven and you should be consistent. A lot of people basically start with high motivation and then they lose their motivation and then they are not consistent anymore. If you're driven and you're consistent for like an entire year, anybody can crack CAT. There'll always be examples who can like of people who crack CAT with like just 36 hours of work or something like that. But they are the outliers. Most of the students who actually crack CAT have worked hard for like a good part of the year and that's how they end up cracking CAT. So if you are consistent, it doesn't really matter whether you are like top 0.00% in IQ. That would help, but that is not needed at all.
ओके सो ऑल्सो आजकल बहुत लोग बोलते हैं कि परसेंटाइल से ज़्यादा प्रोफाइल ज़्यादा मैटर करता है तो यू नो इज गेटिंग 99 परसेंटाइल स्टिल इनफ फॉर IIMs टुडे?
I will tell you that, see, basically what profile plays a role, percentile plays a role, they are complementary. If your profile has a weakness, it can be overcome or compensated by the percentile. If your percentile is weaker, having a good profile will compensate for it. So both of them are complementary in nature, they compensate each other. So because of that, you should not think that, okay, my profile is not good enough, and then like mess up CAT exam also. Because in fact, if your profile is not good enough, you should actually spend a lot of time making sure your percentile is very good to actually compensate for that.
Yeah. Okay. So like let's talk about the famous I am tag. Like people say it completely changes your life. Like, but honestly, like, do you think it is like slightly overrated sometimes?
It will give you a different career trajectory. It won't change your life in the sense that you don't have to work anymore or you don't have to do anything else. And you still have to work very hard. You have to continue working very hard. But basically, opportunities become possible. Like you can do things which would like not be possible at for certain undergraduates. Certain things would just not possible. Like certain opportunities would not be available to you with certain undergraduates. Now those become open to you after an IIM degree. An IIM tag basically opens those. Now what you do with that depends entirely on you, on your like how much hunger you have, how much drive you have. It depends on that. But it definitely opens a lot of doors.
हाँ, और एक जेन्युइन फियर रहता है हर किसी के मन में, मेरे मन में भी है. लाइक माय फ्रेंड्स कीप कॉलिंग मी, अगर किसी का एवरेज स्कोर है 10th 12th या लाइक ग्रेजुएशन में, उनके लिए क्या टॉप 20 स्कूल्स का डोर क्लोज हो जाता है ऑटोमेटिकली. इट्स लाइक आई हैव हर्ड मल्टीपल टाइम्स, माय फ्रेंड्स हैव आस्क्ड मी कि मैम से पूछना, सर से पूछना कि 10th पे किसी का 677 है या किसी का 678 है, तो वो प्रोफाइल्स के लिए
there are B schools for every kind of profile. There are some people, see basically it's not homogeneous. ऐसा नहीं है कि if A gives a lot of importance to this, then B and C and D will also give like if A gives a lot of importance to this, B, C, L, I, K will also give the same level of importance. They have different parameters, they have different weightages for everything. Like the biggest exception is C, which cares the least about all of these things. So there is always somebody, like some institute which will be interested, some top institutes that are there, the new IIMs that are there, baby IIMs that are there. So it might be the case that some doors might be closed. Like if you have like A6 somewhere in your resume, then A and B become very difficult. You have to literally come in top 50 to actually get in into A and B as such. But even then, C is still there. LIK might, like, depending on the rest of your profile, it might still be in play. Shillong is there, new IIMs are there, baby IIMs are there. But a lot of people basically want that if it is not ABC, then either ABC or nothing. You shouldn't think that way, because if your profile is slightly weaker, you should be more open-minded about the new IIMs and baby IIMs also. And C is always there, which is like more forgiving of a not a stellar academic record.
Okay. So let's talk about some aspirant struggles. DLR की बात करें तो students often get stuck in one set for like too long, right? So how much time someone should like gives a set before deciding कि नहीं इसके बाद मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ, ये set बस है, अभी दूसरा set पे move करता है.
I would say that see how much progress you're making. So if you're making some progress, कि थोड़ा solve हो रहा है, थोड़ा like you're able to fill in the table, or you're able to get some answers of the 4 questions, you're able to get the answer for at least one of them or something like that, you're actually able to make sense of things, then continue. If after 5 minutes like you're making no progress, leave it. But I think the reason why people get stuck is they choose the wrong set. Because I feel, and this is something that I heard also when we were talking to a lot of toppers, that they saw all the 5 sets that are there, they decided A, B, C, ये 3 करना है, and then they didn't pick the easiest set. They said कि ये charts वाला set तो easy ही है, मैं बाद में करूँगा, I'll start with this. And then they got badly stuck with the other set that they chose. That I think is that's not a smart thing to do. You should always begin with the set that you're most sure of. The easiest set, do it first, because then you don't have that fear or uncertainty ki, am I going to get one set? That one set, even if it is in the bag, right, you will feel a lot of confidence. Then the second one becomes more easily doable. So that first set is super important. You should choose the easiest set. Then you don't have to worry ki hoga ki nahi, because then you will be much more relaxed after that.
So like VRC में एक classic confusion होता है, जैसे आप हमेशा बोलते हो कि RCs में 4 options होते हैं, 2 is definitely options में नहीं होता, तो 2 eliminate कर दिया. अब some 2 options are there that are very very close. तो तुक्का मारना चाहिए या negative marking होगी बोल के छोड़ देना चाहिए?
You should definitely attempt. Both the first है कि you should definitely attempt, because if you consider probabilistically, okay, if you consider that it is +3 for correct answer, -1 for incorrect answer, you have already reduced half probability. So +3 into 0.5 and -1 into 0.5, you basically are getting some 1 mark extra by doing that. So you should definitely attempt. If you are able to eliminate 2 options, you should never leave. Even if you are able to eliminate one of the options, it is still worth it as such. But you should like essentially at that point of time when people are stuck, right? Remember, one of the options is wrong. You have to figure out which option is wrong, and you have to read both of the options very, very carefully. With like there is something wrong in one of the options which your first look through did not catch. So basically spend that extra 30 seconds rereading the options, because if you reread them, you will find what is wrong with them. but definitely attempt. Don't leave those options.
So like mocks can be brutal sometimes, right? Like when someone scores like 30 to 35 or something like that. It happens with me also. Like last time it happened, like I scored really bad in mock. So after that, no, some people, I only started questioning my life existence. Like existence crisis ho jata. So is it same for everyone? Like आपके लिए तो
No,
शायद
definitely you get like any kind of see, everybody needs confidence going into CAT. Okay, if I have high confidence, I do well. If I have low confidence, I do poorly. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. क्योंकि if I have high confidence, I feel कि हाँ ये obviously ये answer है. If I have low confidence, I feel कि ये हो सकता है but ये भी हो सकता है, and I start doubting myself more because of that. And that basically becomes like a vicious cycle where you go into that loop. So you should actively, whenever a like something mock has been like very bad, you should actively try to put it out of your mind. So many of the people, like students who actually we spoke to after the CAT results, they said ki like 1 week before CAT they got like single digit score, and this is somebody who got 99.99. You can see the interview. That person scored 99.99, but he got a very bad CAT score, mock score, just 1 week before CAT. And then he said, ki, I'm not taking CAT only, okay? No, I'm not taking mocks anymore, because he was like so shook by that. So he did not want that kind of like mock this. So basically, if it is something that like something like that happens, take a break, recalibrate, do like just normal practice. Untimed practice also is okay, but recalibrate. You should not go into that spiral of like thinking ki I can't do it and then get poor mock scores, then again I can't do it or something like that. You have to get out of that spiral and then give a fresh attempt. Then you will basically, you should always give CAT from the like mindset of ki main kar sakta hu, from a positive mindset, because that makes a huge difference to your score.
And like honestly, एक और चीज, why does like DILR feel like it's personally attacking CAT aspirants every single year?
I am actually very scared of DILR. Maruti is also scared of DILR. There was one year where DILR was so bad. Like while giving the exam only, I felt ki, oh my god, I have to tell people my score, okay? I have to come out and I have to call and tell ki बहुत खराब गया था. And I came out and I started calling, I called Maruti immediately after my CAT this, and we were in the same slot. It was slot 3. It was evening. I called him, and before even I could say anything, he said ki, Arey, DILR was terrible. Like he was ki बहुत खराब गया, and you can't do anything. There will always be some times where you feel that way, but basically you should think of DLR as crisis management. So even in that year, Maruti still managed to get like 100 percentile, but he was in complete crisis mode because he was, after around 30 minutes or so, he had managed to solve only one set, and he was like in like full crisis mode, and he just somehow salvaged the set that he was doing. He was like very badly stuck. कुछ तो ऐसे था, there was like 2D arrangement, trees were there or something like that. He was horribly stuck in that. And then like some inspiration, he went through the questions. Question ke options se he was able to eliminate 2 of the options, and remaining using the 2 options, he was able to figure out what the correct arrangement is. But basically, you have to think of DILR as crisis management. Ki like something like an earthquake has happened and you have to keep your calm, because remember, like if some big natural crisis happens, you don't want to lose your mental this, right? So you should think that this is crisis management. बहुत खराब हो गया तो भी you should just try to maintain your cool or calm, because ultimately अगर तुम्हारा खराब हो रहा है, किसी और का भी खराब हो रहा है. Even CAT teachers का खराब हो रहा है, सबका खराब हो रहा है. But basically you have to remember, whoever keeps their calm or cool on that day will do well. If you panic and if you think that okay आज इस बार CAT तो गया, then your quant will also be bad, and then you will not be able to recover. So think of, if your DLR is not going well, think of it ki you have to keep your calm. It's like an earthquake is happening, and you have to keep your calm while others panic. So that's what you should think about when it is a very, very bad DLR going on.
Just like hearing your experience, you said कि DLR इतना खराब गया था, बाहर निकल के you were so scared to like call
No,
him.
I felt कि I can't tell him that I'm getting like, I felt at that point of time that I might get single digit, because I was not at all confident of anything that I had solved. So I was like, कि how do I tell him that I am going to get single digit? But then before I said anything, he only said कि बहुत खराब था. Then I felt कि okay, ठीक है.
तो वो मोमेंट में ना ऐसा नहीं लगता कि जब मार्केटिंग टीम कॉल करती है कि मैम रिव्यू दे दो हमको.
Yeah. I was like, I was like, how am I going to like say about this score, okay? But somehow I think I got around one set right. I think I got 15 or like something in that particular, this, the lowest ever. But us time pe, the cutoff was only low because it was terrible for everybody. But still it was like very embarrassing. But I remember that because I felt ki this is something that everybody else goes through. So after that, whenever I was like panicking in DILR, I just felt ki it won't be ki, okay, I am only doing poorly. Because even that particular year, Maruti ne bhi bahut kharab kiya tha. But somehow in the last minute, he saved himself. I was not able to do it. So I always think that I should just try to keep my calm and try to salvage even a bad DILR somehow.
Okay. Like, okay, from what you've seen over the past years, what is the biggest mistake even even a smart CAT aspirant make?
I feel that the biggest mistake which even I made the first time I gave CAT, and this is something a lot of first time CAT students do. This is basically why I feel that a lot of people have to repeat CAT, where it's the way we study. Because till your 20s, till your graduation, you have studied in one particular way. 10th standard bhi kaise, you have to like remember everything. You have to like say ki, okay, what are the 5 reasons why this governing body was formed. So you mug up the 5 reasons. So your whole existence in your whole study has been about remembering things and covering syllabus. Ki you remember these formulae, you mug up this, and you have to unlearn that way, because in CAT, remembering plays very little role. It is all entirely skill. It is all entirely practice. So you have to unlearn that way of studying for exam, because I also did the same thing when I was preparing for CAT the first time. Before CAT, like 1 week before CAT, I was revising formulae. Just I was reading ki, okay, area, perimeter ka ye formula, I was mugging it up because it is so ingrained into you that this is how you have to study. But it is completely useless to do that. If you just remember things, it is going to have no impact on your CAT score, because remembering formulae and being able to solve a quant question are different things entirely. The biggest mistake a lot of people do is they don't solve enough questions. Before CAT especially, you have to solve thousands of questions. Before CAT, do not open like formulae books and all of that. Formulae books should be for revision. But how much time you spend learning and how much time you spend practicing should be completely different. For in your normal exam, you would have spent all your time like just reading. But here you should spend like 10% of your time reading. 90% should be just like solving questions as much as possible. So you should always be conscious that just before CAT, like I would say from the start of November itself, revision of concepts or reading or learning should be, you should put a hard limit. It should be only 10%. The remaining 90%, I have to just solve a lot of questions, because that speed, that momentum, that focus on solving matters a lot more than remembering one formula or so.
Okay, so let's talk about something for your personal journey and all of that. So like I read that you grew up in a family of doctors in Thane, and like so I'm very curious. So like how did MBA came into the radar, or like did engineering just feel right to you? What was that thought process?
Basically, my decisions, they were never like, I want to do this. The decisions I always took were that I don't want to do it. So my decisions I always chose by closing doors. So you have like say 10 doors in front of you. You never know what would be right for you. Sometimes you can say that, okay, I kind of like this, but you really don't know whether it will be right for you. So you will definitely know for sure that this is wrong for me. So that is something that I always knew. I knew that medicine was wrong for me because I was much better in maths and physics than I was in like biology. And I felt I had no competitive advantage in remembering things. My memory was not any better than anybody else. And that plays a huge role in biology and in medicine preparation in general as such. So I felt I have no competitive advantage there, why go there? So I was able to close the door of medicine pretty early on. Then because I knew I was better at maths and better at physics, I prepared for engineering. After engineering, I knew that I was not the best computer engineer in my class. I knew that I did not like love writing code. I did not like, there were some guys who were like super happy to write code or like participate in coding competitions. So, but I knew that that does not give me that much of a like this. But on the other hand, aptitude exams was like something that I enjoyed doing. I was clearly the best in my college in CAT preparation. So I knew that I have a competitive advantage over here. I do not have a competitive advantage in coding. So then again, I was able to close that door of MS or doing like a job. Then in MBA also, after I got into MBA, you have like different careers that are there in front of you. You have marketing, you have consulting, you have markets, you have investment banking. So again, you have to basically just do the same thing. You have to close a few doors. I know I'm not like a very social person. I don't like to talk to a lot of people. With that, I was able to close the consulting door, because there you have to like go and network with everybody. You have to go and network with the alumni. You have to go and network like with your seniors, like crazy. I was easily able to close the door because I'm a introverted person. In marketing also, I felt that I did not really enjoy marketing as such. So I was able to close that door also. Investment banking, sleep was very important to me. So working 16 hours a day is not something that I wanted to do. So I was able to close that door also. So then I was left with markets. So that basically my decision making was like this. What do I not want to do is much more clearer than what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Okay. So like the classic question everybody is asking us, how did you meet Maruti sir? Everybody knows कि हाँ I am A में मिले हैं, batchmates and all that. But like how did it exactly happen? Like did he propose to you or it was like mutual relationship में आ जाते हैं वो वैसे होता ना college के सब वैसा type का था या कैसा था?
No, basically we were friends. Actually, we were friends for a long period of time before we started dating, because I was so it was kind of organic. We used to sit close to each other, like it was alphabetically placed, and for some reason mine K came over here and B came over here in the this. So we used to like be aage piche, and we used to talk because of that. And when like after like 2 semesters, we had like after 2 terms, we had the chance to change the study groups. So then we were looking that who can I form a study group with. So I and my friend from my like dorm were looking, and she was friends with Maruti because they were both from ITB. So she said, okay, let's form a study group together. So that is basically how I started talking to him more regularly. And then basically we used to work together. And if you're in IMA and you're in part of a study group, you end up spending like close to 6-7 hours every day together, because you have to do so many assignments together and all. And because we were in the same study group, we were also in the same like placement prep group also. And he was also preparing for markets. I was also preparing for markets. So I used to bug him for like what to do here, what to do there. And so I was like in my summer internship placement program, I was like a nervous mess, like total anxiety ridden. And basically I would need somebody to like tell ki like what is going on. I'm just like total nervous this. And Maruti was also nervous, but he would still calm me down saying that it's okay, it will work out. Like you will get shortlist. Even if ye shortlist nahi aaya, dusra shortlist aayega. Don't like, because every time you would not get a shortlist, you'd be like, what is wrong with my resume or something like that. But basically, he was like a very good friend till like summer placements. We were like super focused on that. But after summer placements, we just became very good friends, and after that, we started dating.
Like did he propose to you or something like that? Or it was just mutual कि मतलब
Yeah,
वो
we
बैठ
just
गया
became
हो
very
गया.
good friends by that time. So
Okay.
then we were like, yeah, it was mutual. It was not like.
So like after like IMA, you started working in Citibank Hong Kong, right? So which is like literally a dream job of every MBA aspirant कि abroad जाना, abroad से offer आया है and all of that. But like what made you decide to leave all of that and come back to India and start everything from a scratch, like a startup?
Uh, Basically, I just felt that I wasn't. Again, it's the same thing. You close doors wherever you feel ki it's not that right for you, because I felt would I be very very good at this job? Probably not, because again I felt ki I was not very happy in Hong Kong, because I felt isolated there. You have a very small Indian community there, and you don't kind of feel like you belong. You feel slightly you feel slightly isolated. You feel that things are, you never feel at home over there. You kind of always feel ki there's something missing kind of thing. So I always used to feel that way, though I didn't understand why I felt like the odd one out or something like that. But so I always had that kind of undercurrent of not being very happy. And even in the job, I always felt ki would being smarter help much in this job? No, it was mostly at that point of time I realized that it was about people skills, where that job, you get it through being smart, but to really do well in that job, you have to be kind of very networking, you have to like talk to like a lot of people. And again, I felt that is not something that I do very well. And it wasn't something that was very intellectually rewarding also. It was like a lot of money, but not very intellectually rewarding. Because like for example, I always used to think that whenever I would come back to India, okay, my both parents are doctors. My elder brother also became a surgeon, and they would never like want to like they would always want to talk about what they were doing, or if they did something new or innovative, or if they learned something new. They were always like having this amount of conversation. They wanted to talk about their job. I used to never want to talk about the job because I never felt like this is something that makes me happy. So I always used to feel like whenever I would sit and we would talk, I would feel ki like let's not talk about that. So I just felt ki this means that I'm not very happy in doing that. It's not something that I enjoy doing. And after a couple of years, it becomes very evident that this is not something that you enjoy doing. So then you are like, you have to do something else. The paycheck is the only thing that is stopping you essentially. But after a point of time, that also doesn't stop you that much because you feel that, okay, I would rather like stay in India with less money than stay here and feel like I'm like untethered, almost like isolated. So then we thought it was easy. Whether it would succeed or not is different, but whether would give you a chance to be happier, that was what we were thinking about.
So like crack you started back at 2014. So like before edtech is even a buzzword. So like looking back now, what was the biggest struggle or like struggle that people don't usually talk about it now?
Actually, now when like if I think of it, I just always look at the early days with like super rose tinted grasses. Everything was fun, everything was nice because A, we were young, we had a lot more energy, and we were very optimistic. So now, like I would think, okay, we had like very little revenue initially. We were for the first 1.5 years, we were working through out of our home. We had no office also. We had very few people working for us. So if I look back now, I would think that that's pretty bad. But at that point of time, it was great, okay? Because it was like a lot of freedom. You were doing something that you enjoyed doing. So I would never say that those were days of struggle because I feel they were very happy days. They were the nicest days because there was less responsibility and we were full of optimism and hope. So I would say that not a struggle as such.
Okay, what was the toughest phase on that early days? So nobody talks about.
Toughest phase in the early days, I feel just basically education is all about like getting, you have to get like your flow, or you have to get find your feet in education, and it takes a lot of time to do that. So I feel that I got my confidence as a teacher after like 5-6 years of teaching. Initially, you also are slightly apprehensive that am I doing enough? Am I teaching properly? Like you're not really confident for the first few years because education has a long life cycle. You need like 5-10 years before you find your feet in it. And so the first biggest the toughest part of the initial days was that you are not having that confidence. You don't feel that is this enough. You are constantly that is this enough? Am I doing enough? Am I good enough? Kind of thing. So that self doubt was the biggest thing.
Okay. So like building your company with your husband, right? So like does it ever get to the marriage or like, you know, where does that work mode end and the home mode?
There's no end. There's just like flow throughout. There is no such thing that okay, work is ending here, remaining time starts here, because anytime we talk about anything. So even in office, we sometimes discuss okay what we have to do for the kids or like anything, and outside also so if he starts with मैं सोच रहा था, it can be about Krakow, it can be about the kids, it can be about like general affairs, anything, because we don't have that okay at 6 o'clock
like
you have to
a
stop
best
talking
friends.
about this, because it just kind of flows. There is no such we didn't think of it, and I don't think there is a need for us to separate the two also as such.
Just like a best friends together.
Yeah, we always talk about it, and it like feels normal for us to talk about it at any point of time. So
Okay, so अगर आपको आज के टाइम पे CAT preparation zero से start करना पता, you don't know anything, you're like blank about it, what would be the one thing that you would do differently than now?
if I was starting from zero, basically I would the thing that I would do differently is that I would start solving a lot of questions. I feel that the mistake a lot of students make is that they spend a lot of time learning concepts and passively doing things. And I was like them because that's what you have learned, right? Ki padho and remember and like finish syllabus. That finished syllabus mentality is what holds back a lot of first timers. So I would say that if I was doing now with all the knowledge that I have, I'd just like take it upon myself to like solve the entire study room or something like that, because that practice makes the huge difference. The reason why a lot of people have advantage over others is that they have solved more questions. They are not smarter, they have just done it before. So the only thing that I would do differently is that I would just go crazy on the study room and solve the entire study room as such.
Okay, so let's talk about some big perspective questions. Like आजकल एक और डिबेट चल रही है कि AI फास्ट ग्रो कर रहा है, टूल्स लाइक ऑटोमेशन, AI एजेंट, सब कुछ चेंज हो रहा है, राइट? क्लाउड ने भी अपना रिपोर्ट निकाला कि most of the jobs are in threat because of AI. So like, is MBA still worth it, or is it becoming just like expensive degree as such?
I would say that it makes an MBA even more worthwhile, because what I think would be replaced are anything which are repetitive in nature, anything which is just super technical and but repetitive. It does not require a human touch. That will be replaced far faster than anything that requires human insight, thinking. So like coding, I feel, will be replaced quite faster than like sales, marketing, because for sales and marketing you have to really understand what motivates a person to buy, what would be something that is justifiable to a human. All of this requires human understanding of human psychology. If you consider consulting, it is all about understanding people, understanding problems of people. Even if you consider markets, you have to understand what makes people panic, what makes systems fragile. Even in investment banking, you have to essentially earn the trust of the clients. All of these are human activities. Wherever there is a high human quotient involved, that will not be disrupted. Anything which has low human quotient, anything which does not require you to interact a lot with humans, understand humans, that is far more likely to be disrupted. So I would say that if you are in a coding role or in a technical role, I would say that an MBA is a much better bet for the future than a purely technical role as such.
Right. So, अगर हम numbers देखें, right, there are like 2 to 3 lakhs people preparing for CAT, like just for 5,000 seats in colleges. So, right, तो सच में क्या इतना ज़्यादा preparation करके इतना ज़्यादा तुम इतना दे रहे हो किसी चीज़ के लिए, is it worth it for just like 5,000 seat? Around like 3 lakh people are preparing for it.
See, basically, you can think of it that there are 3 lakh people who are like graduates. Okay, there are multiple streams available for them. One is that they continue in their job, they work harder, they get better in their job itself. The other stream is of further education, one of which is like an MS, going out of the country. One is MBA. So even if it is 5,000 out of 3 lakhs, there is also UPSC, SSC, all of those things that are there. So basically, MBA is one branch out of it. The 3 lakh people who give CAT, all of them don't give CAT very seriously. They also do all of the other things also. So it's not necessarily that, okay, those like the 5,000 win, the remaining 2,95,000 lose. They have basically, it's like accumulative of all the possible branches that are there. Now, I would say that if it is something that you are good at, you have a chance at it, and you actually feel that this is something that you want to do, you want to get into a different field, you want to get into like say sales, marketing, consulting, business domain, then you should actually work very hard for this. If you wanted to get into public sector, you have to give UPSC and other service exams. So if you want to like do real technical work, you have to do an MS, or you have to give GRE, or you have to give GATE. So basically it depends on what you want to do. Don't think of what the other 2,95,000 people want to do, because if you are somebody who is good at this, and if you are really interested in doing this, you will do a better job than the others. There are people who would be better at GATE than you. There will be people who will be better at UPSC than you, but you have to be better at CAT than them. That's the whole thing, that you have to think that what is right for me, and would I be better at this than others? That's all.
Okay, so let's end with a fun rapid fire question. Okay, QA, VRC or DLR, which section scares the student most?
DLR, easy. Like you can prepare for QA, you can prepare for VRC, you can kind of prepare for DLR, but no.
सबसे overrated CAT preparation advice?
The tricks, hacks, that I feel, I just feel ki it can work. It works 1 in 10 times, and 1 in 10 times when it works, you feel very happy. But the remaining 9 times, you don't know that it will not work. So
So one thing every CAT aspirant should stop doing immediately.
passively watching videos, because it makes no difference to your preparation. If you watch a video and solve no question, you will do like it has 1% effect.
Okay, CAT preparation in one word.
Practice.